How biased is your baseball sports announcer? The WSJ sports team, they have undertaken an exhaustive analysis. All right, they had a little fun too, to determine announcer bias. They've got an index, and we've got Geoff Fowler from the sports team right here beside me. You guys are getting a lot of pickup on this index of yours. Describe what inspired you guys to go in and start looking at MLB announcers for bias to begin with.
Well, it basically started with the story ended up being about Hawk Harrelson for the White Sox, because we just thought he was hilarious, because he is calling the local coverage for the White Sox, and he's basically openly rooting for the team, you know, cheering, and he has all these nicknames for all the players on Chicago. So we just wanted to see, we know some teams, you know, their announcers are kind of impartial, as they traditionally are, and some are, you know, tend to root for the team they cover every day. So we went through and watched the game for each team. And
a ninth inning.
A full nine innings, yeah.
Yep.
No, it was a full 9 innings.
Full ninth
yeah.
inning, not
and
just
it was
a
always
ninth
a game that the home team won, the team they, you know, were covering, so that, you know, it was even.
Right.
It wasn't like a particularly bad game or a good game. And just counted any incidents where they were, you know, biased or sort of rooting for the home team.
Let's define bias before we get into whether people like their announcers biased or not, which is a whole different question.
Right, exactly.
And I want to do
so
that.
it was anytime they said we or our or like we need to win this game, you know, referred to it, you know, like they were part of the team.
Or we need to get our blank together.
Right. If they had a nickname for a player that seemed like a pet name, you know, like Harrelson calls like people Paulie or Cat, you know, different things like that. And then again, if they just seemed like they were openly rooting for the team, or, you know, happy when something good happened or sad when something bad happened, that counted.
Let's look at some of the rankings now. It was interesting because in the top 5, I think, of people who were the most biased, let's run through those: White Sox, Indians, Pirates, Astros, Marlins. They, by and large, not all of them, but mostly smaller markets.
Yeah, it was the smaller market clubs, which you might expect. You know, I think some might think the bigger markets would sort of play it more straight. Which is what we found. I mean, there were 5 teams that didn't have any incidents where they were biased, and that was the Mets, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, and the Red Sox and Dodgers. Yeah.
Right. No instances in that particular game that you
I mean,
watched.
but generally, if you watch, you don't see it. Now, the radio announcers are totally different, because the Yankees radio announcers are known to be definitely rooting for the Yankees. So
why
this was just TV.
So why is there even this discussion? I mean, to me, I don't mind. Like, I'm a Mets fan, and so when I watch SNY, I'm always happy when, you know, Keith or Ron, you know, or Gary, or seem a little excited about it. So, but is it sort of in these bigger markets, there's an emphasis on being impartial, being fair to the other team? Is that sort of why?
Yeah, I think that could be the case. I mean, I think you could say that some fans want their announcers to be biased, just like you said. Like they want you to be part of the team. I mean, it's not a lot of visiting fans watching the local TV coverage. So what does it really matter?
Right, and it's a little bit subjective too. I mean, you guys came up with a very good metric, but sometimes you can watch, like, let's go back to the Mets, which had 0 instances of bias. But when you hear Gary go on a home run and he's like, "And it's out of here," you know,
you can hear excitement in voice. And Jared Diamond, who did the story, he would count it if it seemed like they were definitely rooting. So it was some subjectivity in how we decided, but, you know, it's not an exact science.
Now, Ken Harrelson, who's the announcer for the White Sox, he is unapologetic. He thinks being biased is the way to go.
Right. He actually considers himself a huge White Sox fan, and you know, he just says, "I'm a fan watching the game. I happen to work here also." And when we called him and told him about it, he was thrilled that he was #1 on the list.
And it took you. He liked it. He was like, "Yeah, I did a great job."
He was like, great. He said, "You made my day," when we told him he was #1 on the list.
He's framing that article right now. You guys spent what, 2 months?
It took a long time. Jared Diamond did most of the work, and, you know, he had to watch a full game, so that's, you know, around 3 hours times 30. So it was a long time.